Hello guys, it's me, your favorite messy hair YouTuber. Okay, why has my palm messy? Whatever. Today we're doing a reaction video and you see I got a little Goku over there. He's gonna be looking at you guys straight in the face because I'm lazy at animating. So let's get into it. I've been raising my mom well whatever.
And speechless, still feeling the sting of that slap on my cheek. I felt so angry and hurt inside. I almost felt like my heart would burst.
Guys, first I want to tell you something, eh? She didn't even tell us anything. She's just moving on, talking, and now she's a statue. Who you gonna be next? LeBron James? Oh, God.
But I knew I couldn't react. My mother was all I had, and all she wanted was to keep us safe. I don't remember Dad too well. He was never around much. And then he just left one day. I was 6. I do remember my mother crying a lot and cleaning. She threw out everything that ever belonged to him, and she scrubbed down every surface. We never talked about him again. One day when I was about 10, I saw her in the kitchen washing her hands furiously. Her shoulders were shaking as she sobbed, and I rushed to her and hugged her tightly.
Mom, what's
"Don't
up? The heck
touch
is
me,"
happening?
she screamed and shoved me back. I tried to calm her down, but she wouldn't listen. She clawed at her skin and rushed inside the bathroom. She locked herself in there for the rest of the day. I decided to make her some chocolate chip pancakes the next morning. It was her favorite breakfast, sure to cheer her up. As I was taking out the ingredients from the cabinet, everything else came tumbling out with a loud clatter. There was flour everywhere. I waited for an earful, but Mom just pushed me aside and began cleaning. Mom didn't stop until everything was spotless. Then she walked over to me. "You made a huge mess," she said calmly. Before I could apologize, she slapped me hard. "Why are you so careless? You know I can't stand any mess." I just stood there, listening to her rant, when I felt something trickle down my cheek. "You're bleeding," she gasped. "Look what you've done now. First you made the kitchen messy, and now you've hurt yourself. Don't you know you could get an infection?" She told me to clean myself up and went back to bed.
Did you see that? The lack of
happened.
animation.
I began to wash the wound. I couldn't hold back my tears. But I had to be understanding. We only had each other. Over the coming days, she taught me everything she knew about cleaning. We cleaned everything, and anything we couldn't clean, we threw out. Those things were mostly my art projects and paintings. As much as it hurt me, I didn't let it show. My mother already had so many things to deal with. I didn't want to add to her troubles by throwing a tantrum. I was learning, and with every approving nod I received from her, I cleaned harder. "Jane, come with us. We're going to a party."
I will go to, okay, just look at the one which is waving, okay? Just look at it. What the heck? Look at that shirt. Just looks messed up and pink. It should be purple. It's the King Fumi merch. By the way, it's not out. So yeah, don't be going like, "Oh, where's the merch? I don't have it." If you want the merch, it's gonna take me about probably 2 years. Now let's get back to the animation.
Friends were outside calling to me as I was busy scrubbing the floor clean. I looked up at Mom and froze. She shrugged and said I could go if I wanted to. She had plenty of cleaning to keep her busy. With a heavy heart, I yelled to my friends that I had work to do. Mom squeezed my hand and smiled. I knew I'd done the right thing. "Come on, Mom." I jumped up and down excitedly. "The house won't clean itself." Things went on like this for a while. My friends would keep asking me to go out with them. Slowly, I started to get fewer and fewer texts. I didn't mind. They weren't the ones who were keeping me clean and safe. It was my mother. She had quit her job and began to work from home. She began spending more and more time together, cleaning. Then she began spending more and more time alone in her room. She would refuse to leave the house. I was the only one going outside for school or to get groceries. I'd scrub myself down when I got home. I didn't want to bring in anything with me that could make her sick. But she fell sick anyway. Maybe it was all the chemicals in the cleaning supplies. I wanted to quit school and stay by her side, but she refused.
Is this
Even in high
coronavirus?
school, I stayed away from people as much as possible. I made sure my disinfectant was with me at all times. High school was bad enough without being the weirdo who constantly...
Oh God, what is she? A disinfectant warrior for COVID-19? I will hire her on my team. After we just need 5 more members.
had a mask and gloves on, but I didn't care.
What?
Being clean and safe was more important. One day,
Not
I was
everyone's a
standing by
zombie.
my locker, taking my gloves off to change into a new pair, when a couple of kids from my class approached me. The one in front, James, was holding a cake. I didn't really know him. I just often heard the girls in the class gushing over how cute he was. "Hey, we saw on the class calendar that it's your birthday today.
Happy birthday to you."
"We baked you a cake," he said with a warm smile. "Thank you." I managed to reply. I was shocked and a little touched that anyone even knew or cared about my birthday, but all I could think about was all the little microbes and germs on that cake. His hands without gloves. At that moment, I wasn't wearing any either. I felt my vision begin to spin and tiny creatures crawling all over my skin. He held out the cake to me. I had no choice but to take it. Accepting the cake, our fingers brushed together. Don't touch...
Oh God! Don't touch me, bruh. Don't even touch me.
Touch me! I screamed. I turned on my heels and ran away as fast as I could. I needed to get out and get clean. I took one look back to make sure no one was following me. Everyone was still standing there in stunned silence. The cake on the floor, a mess. Over the next few days, I refused to go to school. Mom wasn't too happy about it, but she let me stay. Secretly, I was sure she was relieved when I didn't step a foot outside. I felt safe and comfortable at home too, but I couldn't avoid going to school anymore. I already had plenty of catching up to do. A classmate invited me to her home to collect notes. When I got there, I saw a mess that made my stomach churn. Crushed empty cans were thrown carelessly on the floor. Piles of dirty clothes were lying here and there, and there were dirty dishes which seemed to be growing their own ecosystems. I was debating whether to run away or jump in and start cleaning when someone walked in. "You're Nicole's friend?" I looked up and realized it was James. The whole horrifying cake scene came rushing back to me, and I wanted to vanish into thin air. He didn't bring it up at all. He picked up 2 shirts from a pile on the floor. I almost screamed when he sniffed both of them, then dropped one and put on the other. Just like that. "I'm Nicole's twin. I would keep you company, but I need to get going." "Oh, darn, what is the stain on my sleeve? Looks like mustard." "Do you have club soda and a clean cloth?" I asked. "I can help you with that." Surprisingly, he had both things, and with my gloved hands, I efficiently rubbed out the mustard stain. He gave me a huge smile. My heart fluttered a bit. Weird. He told me I was a lifesaver. Then he was off, and Nicole walked in with her notes. On the way back home, I couldn't help but think about that smile. Nicole and James asked me to go out with them several times, but I always refused. Eventually, they stopped asking. Months passed, and one day I felt desperately lonely and in need of some company. I texted Nicole myself. We met up in the park, and I don't know if it was the fresh air or their silly jokes, but I felt happier than I had in ages. We started hanging out more and more often. They never made me feel weird about all my strange tics and habits. Even if other people stared while I scrubbed down a table at a restaurant with my disinfectant wipes, they always acted like it was completely normal. James especially was super sweet. He'd wipe my plate and glass for me. I had come to realize that I had a pretty big crush on him, but I wasn't ever going to say anything. He probably just thought
if you got a crush on someone, do it correctly, okay? Don't just duct tape it. You write it down. You take a picture of them. You put them in your locker. They come, they say it's weird. You hang out. Boom, chagalaga, you guys are dating, just like that.
Was a freak, and he was only nice to me because he felt sorry for me. But one day, I felt I would die of embarrassment if he kept being so nice. That day, I was feeling particularly worked up. I tried to rush out of class as soon as it ended, but on the way out, I knocked over Jax's books. Jack was a big bully who picked fights for no reason. He swore and jumped to his feet, and even though I apologized, he didn't let it go. He demanded that I pick up his books.
Pick up my books now.
He threw them all back down and said,
"What?
It's no fun if you don't take off your gloves."
Bruh.
I looked at him in surprise. He must have been kidding me, right? Apparently, though, he wasn't. I silently picked up the books and put them on his desk, but with a loud scream, he pushed them all off the table. "Take off your gloves, you freak!" He yelled at me, coming closer. I stepped back, horrified. If he stepped any closer, his germs could get all over me. I had enough of my own to kill. "So you like things clean, huh, freak show?"
Yes,
he asked.
I'm not a freak show.
I tried to turn and run, but one of his friends blocked my way. Then, to my horror, Jack reached for the trash can. "No!" I begged him to stop, but he wasn't listening. Things started to go in slow motion. He lifted the trash can and stepped toward me. I covered my face with my arms, ready to pass out, when suddenly, I heard a loud yell. I looked up in surprise, and to my utter shock and embarrassment, I saw James punching Jack. Suddenly, everyone gathered around us. I pushed through the crowd and ran home. Why did he have to see me like that? I was devastated. Now he'd think I was the biggest, most helpless loser to walk the planet. I skipped school the next day again. But in the evening, Nicole called, demanding that I come over to her place. At first, I wanted to say no, but when I thought of the trouble James might have gotten into because of me, I agreed to go. I knew I was in trouble. But what I saw left me in shock. James and Nicole had cleaned their entire house. They had a whole new set of gloves and masks and a bottle of disinfectant set neatly on the table.
Okay,
my eyes welled up and I started to cry. They said that I didn't need to be embarrassed and that they had my back. I thought I had made friends for life. But what happened a few weeks later made me question everything. They often said they'd like to come over to my place one day, especially if I felt more comfortable there. I always made some lame excuse to keep them away. How would I explain my mother to them? But one day, I gave
BFF team.
I told them Mom was away, but she'd just stay in her room. I started getting excited about their visit, actually. I didn't think I'd ever have friends come over. Of course, when they came, they had to go through the whole process of taking off their shoes, being sprayed with disinfectant, and sanitizing their hands. I decided to go a little easy and didn't ask them to wear masks or gloves. They were in awe of how spotless and shiny the whole house was.
So nice.
They should be, given the garbage dump they used to live in. Oh wow, I can literally see my reflection in every surface, James exclaimed. This place is cleaner than an operating room.
You're welcome.
I smiled at him.
Booga.
His words made me pretty happy. They wanted to look around the house. I felt a bit reluctant at first, but then agreed. James was admiring the color-coded books on the shelf in my room when I realized Nicole wasn't with us. I heard her voice coming from the hallway. Hey, what's in this room? I ran outside at the speed of a bullet. Her hand was on the doorknob, and I pushed her away.
Speed of a bullet. You must be Superman or something, because you're not fast. I mean Supergirl or something, you know, because you're not fast.
Hey, she fell on the floor looking absolutely shocked. Get away from that room, I screamed. Can't you see the doors closed? Why can't you mind your own business?
Oh, God.
James helped Nicole up, and they both looked completely
Just help me
horrified.
up.
Nicole said in a choked-up voice that she hadn't meant any harm, and she
didn't mean
rushed
no
out of the
harm.
house in tears. James just looked at me for a moment, too stunned to speak, and he followed her out. I burst into tears and flung myself on my bed. I couldn't believe what I'd done. I had pushed away the only two people who had ever been kind to me. I cried myself to sleep that night. I thought I'd never see them again. But to my complete surprise, James called me a couple of days later and said they were planning to go to the aquarium and water park that day. I should join them. My heart soared. Of course I wanted to see them. It was rather awkward when we met, and I tried to apologize. But Nicole just smiled and told me to forget all about it. We were here to enjoy this lovely day. I felt a lump in my throat and smiled back. The two walked around me protectively so I wouldn't bump into anyone. Nicole went off to get some ice cream and James stayed behind with me.
James like 5 feet
We were standing
taller
by a
than
flimsy
you.
wooden fence which overlooked a huge lake. A lovely breeze touched my face and I wanted to take my mask off, but I could hear Mom's voice in my head. Always be careful.
Always
Safety
be
comes
careful,
first.
oh,
I
safety
noticed
comes-
James was looking at me a
Safety
bit
comes
curiously.
first.
He then asked me
You
if I'd
haven't
ever
wearing
held
a-
hands with someone, ever kissed someone.
You haven't wearing
I
your
snapped,
mask.
blushing. Did you know the bacteria count in the mouth increases by 20 billion in 5 hours? He stayed quiet.
Holy crap.
After I looked a little calmer, he held his hand out
Why is
to
she
me
so
and told me that I
smart?
could practice with him. I shook
Bruh.
my head. My heart hurt, though. Oh,
Yo,
I so
you
wanted to take
smart.
his hand, but Mom would never approve. He didn't push me any further and walked away to talk to a friend he had spotted. Just then, I
Yo,
saw Nicole
hello,
running towards
friend.
me, 3 ice cream cones in her hands. She was completely wet. She laughingly shouted that she'd stopped to watch the dolphins and they'd drenched her. She looked like she was going to run straight into me. I told her to stop, but it looked like
Finish
she couldn't.
line.
She's filthy. Mom screamed in my head. I jumped aside and she hit the fence, which gave way under her weight. In
Goodbye.
horror, I watched her fly over into the lake below.
Goodbye.
But luckily, she caught onto something and was hanging by the edge. Despite all of Mom's protests in my head, I got down on all fours and held out a hand to her. She held on to me desperately, but I could feel her grip slipping under my rubber glove. I
No,
knew she couldn't
remove
swim.
the
I had
gloves!
almost lost her when James arrived on the scene, and we managed to pull her up together. Thank you, Nicole gasped. You saved me, Jane. No, I didn't. I couldn't. I'm sorry, I said. I ran away as fast as I could as people
You
began to
Superman
gather
or
around us.
what?
How I got back home was a blur. One moment I was running, and the next I was at my house. As I entered my dark, spotless home, it no longer comforted me. Mother! I screamed over the silence, tearing the mask off, then the cap. Wash yourself as soon as you enter the house. I heard my mother's voice at the back of my mind, but not for real. When was the last time she told me she loved me? When was the last
Wait, guys, hold on. I want to do something real quick.
time she left her room for anything but more cleaning? I
Oh,
tore
heck
my
no,
stupid gloves off as I went to
alright.
her room. My hand froze before I could turn the knob. I wanted to cover my hands again, but I resisted the urge. I walked inside
That's how
and
she
dropped
did
on my
it.
knees at her bedside.
But no
she lay
earphones. I'm just gonna
unresponsive
keep
as
my mask.
always. I did everything you asked, I screamed as tears fell. Lived like you wanted me to.
Whatever.
You won't even talk
Be
to
safe.
me. All you've given me is fear. All I got
Guys,
in
just
reply
be
was
safe.
the beeping of the life support machine. Talk to me, I yelled at the top of my lungs, but there was no reply. Please, I sobbed. Then I heard someone enter the room behind me. It was James.
Yo, what's up, Paul? Oh my God.
He extended his hand to me. I wasn't wearing my
Wait,
gloves.
what's her name?
The germs moved. My mother screamed.
What's her name?
But this time, I took his hand.
What's her name? I forgot.
There,
Paul.
but I wasn't alone.
Ashley, yes.
To save my mother and me. Then I heard her voice again. No yelling, but calm as a breeze. She told me she was proud of me.
Wow. Wow, that's nice. You know, when I say this, I'm only gonna watch one animation. Yeah, I'm only gonna watch one animation. So hope you guys like, subscribe, and turn on those post notifications to never miss an upload. So, if you guys and the videos I make, if you guys like and subscribe and hit those post notifications to never miss an upload. Bye. I sound like a weird person in the woods.